Stats SA has defended the quality of the country's latest census, saying concerns raised by scientists earlier this week are unfounded and misleading. On Wednesday, the Medical Research Council sounded the alarm about Census 2022, releasing a technical report that indicated it was so flawed that government could not rely on it for resource allocation and monitoring key programs. Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke joins me in studio for more on this. Statistician, thank you for joining us. Let's talk about this technical report. Have you read it, and did you have enough time to reach out to the scientists to give context in terms of some of the issues they were raising?
Anastasia, I want to start with the whole issue about the scientists. The word and term scientist is not an exclusive a space for one or two individuals. There are scientists all over the world. Indeed, the men and women in Stats SA are also scientists. So in this regard, firstly is that let us come with the process of how we engaged with the two scientists or the two professors. And it's not new. We have engaged them in previous censuses. So I want to start by saying what they are raising now is not new. They have raised issues in previous censuses. Both of them were in the Statistics Council, particularly Professor Rob Darrington. He was in the Statistics Council much longer. And indeed, in 2011, they raised issues where they were even asking the previous Statistician-General to delay the release of the numbers. As regards this census 2022, they wrote to me, before they even wrote to me, what happens is that the Statistics Council, South African Statistics Council, which is an independent body, which has other scientists sitting there, which advises the Statistician-General and the Minister, particularly the Statistician-General on technical matters, invited the two professors to be part of the independent experts, because they are not on council, to advise them on how they see the census and the numbers. We did everything possible to accommodate them. What we do with all experts, they come and work from Stats SA headquarters, but they said they will want to work from the Western Cape. We were ready to set up in the Western Cape office so that they work from there. They still could not come on board. When that was done and the results were released, with other experts other than themselves, international and national, as well as the Statistics Council, having raised that the census is fit for purpose, they wrote to me, sent me a report and said, these are the issues that they are unhappy with. But I want to say, there's no special space for any individual in the matter of use of numbers. You enjoy the same space as any other, as a professor, as the president, as every user, Anastasia. So if you came and raised things, we would engage with you. I sent 4 of my deputies to go and meet with them. We explained everything, and we even sent them a report. And they wrote back to me and say they see no need to continue in engaging. So firstly, they walked away from engaging with the South African Statistics Council. They stopped engagement with myself and my deputies, and they released their report, which I have seen. So one thing I want to assure you and assure South Africans, the census, that is Census 2022, is fit for purpose and fit for purpose for use in planning. And so says all other experts, nationally and internationally, including the Statistics Council.
Now that we've cleared that up, take me back then to the COVID period, the height of COVID. How difficult was it for you to be able to undertake the logistics of a census? Anastasia,
you're making it as if the work of statistics was the only difficult thing. How difficult was life in general? Everything had been turned upside down. Every facet of life, and indeed every aspect of life, had to change. We had to live in a different way. That affected the work of doing Stats SA's work. Amongst other things, before I come to the census, we had, on the quarterly labor force survey, we could not reach out to members of households. We had to reach out to them by telephone, not by arriving in person. And we released the figures. By the way, in some of our sample surveys, we reach out to 30,000 households. In the census, we reached out to 10 million households.
Yes.
So when we reached to 30,000 households, we are able to estimate to a national figure. So compare 30,000 households and 10 million households. But back to the point you are saying, as regards COVID, it was difficult. Firstly is that in KwaZulu-Natal, we could not pilot our census, the final test, because of unrest. In the Western Cape, we could not pilot our census because it was at the height of COVID-19. But when we went to field, it was not the only thing that affected us. It was at the height of COVID. Remember, we counted people in the middle of COVID. 1.2 million households refused flatly to be counted. But they are not the only ones who account for the undercount. We also had floods in KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga and the Northwest. We also had unrest in KwaZulu-Natal and in Gauteng. We came back, and the undercount of 31%, which is the highest ever published in our country. Yes. We should not treat it like somebody else went to catch Statistician and say, Statistician, you didn't count well. We are the ones who published it. How do we publish it? We conduct what we call a post-enumeration survey right after the census. And census field workers should not know where the sample of the post-enumeration survey will be, because otherwise they will focus more on those areas to refine and perfect it. Yeah. Because we want to know people who have counted more than once and we have missed. So when we came back and said 31% is the undercount, we used that undercount to adjust for the estimate of the population using other data sources like your population register. But this is not the first time we do that, Anastasia. Yes. We have done the same in previous censuses, 1996, 2001 and 2011. Thank you.
Risenga, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. I would have loved to talk to you about other aspects when it comes to this particular budget. But unfortunately, we'll have to leave that conversation for another day. Thank you so much for joining us. That is Statistician-General Risenga Maluleke.